So now we know that Thomas Partey has been denied a Canadian visa and will miss Ghana's opening game against Panama in Toronto on June 17th. Now, before we get into the background of this story, it's worth pointing out that the Ghana Football Association has said, through a source of mine, that it's not over yet and that they're working to try and find a solution to the problem. If they don't find a solution and successfully appeal this decision, it means that Thomas will essentially miss that game, but not just only that particular match. This is also worth pointing out. And he could miss more than just a group stage game, because if potentially Ghana qualifies in second place in Group L, they will play their round of 32 game in Toronto. And that would mean Thomas can't go there and play that match either. That's not all. Even if they finish third in the group and still qualify for the round of 32, and they win their round of 32 game, they could play their round of 16 game in Vancouver, which is also in Canada. So it's a very tricky situation that the FA, that the player has found himself in. And now, if that appeal is not successful, you're looking at a player that could potentially miss 3 of Ghana's 5 matches if they end up reaching the round of 16. And they start to ask the question whether it's worth even having the player there if they could potentially miss these many games as a result of this visa issue. Now, the story itself started to trickle in on Wednesday. The general public already, or only hearing it on Friday from that breaking news story from the New York Times. But for some of us, we started to hear whispers on Wednesday that Thomas Partey's visa application wasn't successful. But obviously, with that confirmation, with these kinds of issues, it was always really difficult. In fact, I was on a show on PM Express with the sports minister where we put the question to him after we heard all the rumors, and he said nothing of that nature had come to his notice, and that if Thomas was denied a visa, he would have known. Now it's obvious that even from that day, he had already been denied the visa. So we're just hearing it on Friday, but it's been on for a couple of days. So what's the reason for Thomas's denial? No official reason has been given. We can only guess. And the guess has to be an intelligent one. If you check Canada's immigration website, there's a list of frequently asked questions on who is eligible for a Canadian visa. And one of those questions asks whether or not you're eligible for a Canadian visa if you're currently facing a trial or criminal prosecution in your home country. And the answer to that question is no. Because per Canadian immigration laws, if you're facing a criminal prosecution anywhere in the world, you are criminally inadmissible to Canada. You don't have to be guilty for them to deny you the visa. So long as you're facing trial or facing prosecution, you are ineligible to be granted a Canadian visa. You are inadmissible to Canada. So how does this apply to Thomas? We know that Thomas Partey is standing trial in the UK on 7 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault, dating back to several women accusing him of rape. Now, he has said categorically that he is innocent, that he's not guilty and is ready to fight and clear his name. And that's why he's in court. But the Canadian laws simply say if you stand in trial, if you're being prosecuted anywhere, you're not eligible for a visa. Now, while an official reason has not been provided, we can only guess that perhaps that's the reason he's been denied this particular US visa. It's a very interesting and intriguing case because if the Ghana Football Association had done their own homework well, they probably should have known and would have known that this was always going to come at some point. Because some of these countries do not relax the immigration laws for anyone. And as we are discovering from the United States, that they will take certain things very seriously. It doesn't matter if FIFA or the World Cup is involved. And FIFA has released a statement on Thomas Partey saying that they do not control the immigration issues of individual host countries, and that they do determine to the countries who they should admit it to their countries, and especially when it comes to visa adjudication. They don't tell host countries who they should give visa and who they shouldn't. They were helpless in the referee situation, and in this Thomas situation as well, it appears that they're completely helpless. So it's a tough fight. It's difficult. And it's really, really complicated. And for me, from the evidence of everything that we're seeing now, you just wonder whether perhaps even including Thomas in the squad was a wise decision in the first place. Obviously, as I indicated, perhaps maybe if a bit more homework was done, they could have seen that caveat about admission, inadmission, and visa denials if a player or if someone is facing criminal prosecution. And perhaps that could have advised the decision to include or not include him in the squad. But what we know is that he still will be available to contribute to Ghana's 2 remaining group stage games if they continue to stay at this World Cup, which they will. At least those 3 matches are guaranteed. The only one he won't be eligible to play will be the Panama one if the appeal is unsuccessful. And then he can play the last 2 group stage matches. But then it could become a problem again if Ghana progresses to the next stage. And it just is what it is. So that's the latest, and that's what I can tell you about this whole saga that is now upon us. It's completely thrown Ghana's preparations into the air. Not the most ideal way to prepare for a game because the news around it is just really negative. That press, you don't need it. You need players to fully focus. And this single story would have thrown a lot of the plans up in the air. Psychologically, it's just not ideal. And we already didn't have the best of preparations because we only got to play 1 friendly match, fitness of players in question, and all of these things. And then this one as well. From what I remember, this is probably one of, if not our most chaotic preparation towards a FIFA World Cup tournament. But at the end of the day, the football still has to go on, and the players we have to go to Panama, have to go to Toronto, face Panama, and deliver the results.